So one day I told the ESE teacher, I said, man, I really look forward to trying to help them get into college to play football. And she literally looked me right in the eyes and said, Schwalbach, they can't do it. They don't have the academic ability to do it, and they're gonna end up being in prison or dead. At that point, I was going to prove that lady wrong. My name is Eric Schwalbach. Hear my story. My father abandoned us when I was 3 years old. He was supposed to pick me up from daycare and my mom from work. He took the car. We never heard from him again. So I spent the entire first 12 of my years of my life not having a father in my life, not knowing who he was. And the only time we heard from him was he got arrested and was calling for bail. Because we were poor, we moved all the time. When I was in second grade, my mom went to work at Edgewood Boys Ranch, and I actually had to live at the Boys Ranch with other people that weren't my family. From then on, my schooling was terrible. I got in trouble all the time. Seventh grade, I got self-contained classes for kids that were emotionally handicapped, and I remember asking the teacher, why did you put me in here with the crazy kids? She looked right in my eyes and says, if you act crazy, people are gonna think you're crazy. So that stuck with me, and I said, if I want to be out there with what I would consider, the pretty girls and the normal kids, then I can't act crazy. So I learned early on that my choices had direct outcomes to my situation. Whether they were positive or negative was irrelevant. I just had to make choices that gave me the outcomes that I wanted. The first time I realized I really wanted to help other kids was I did an internship when I was at the community college, and I volunteered and I was helping a fourth grade kid. And I realized that kid and I connected, and his story of not having a father was just like my story not having a father. And I could see in his eyes, he was like, well, if you could do it, I can do it. So my whole goal from that point on was to coach, mentor, and change lives. So when I started coaching basketball at the high school and at the middle school level, not to brag, but we were good. I've got several kids that have gone on to play college football, college basketball, 3 are in the NBA, but those weren't the kids that I realized I wanted to help. So what I realized is I'm gonna let somebody else coach them full time, and then I'm just gonna help out part time. So what I would do is I would take the kids that didn't make the team, that were the at-risk kids, and I would take them to get them on AAU teams. And we loaded up the Suburban, and there's probably 11 guys in there that were packed in. They were all 9th graders. Matter of fact, one of the kids that made that trip is in the NFL right now, went to University of Florida. And unfortunately, one of the guys that was on that trip actually is in prison. So the same weekend that Marcel went to go play in the Super Bowl, unfortunately, Lukey got arrested. So that was a big trip. It was the younger guys got to see the older guys immediately get scholarship offers. So they knew, hey, if these guys are getting scholarship offers, I have to do what they're doing, because it showed them this is what you can do with your life. And college is a big thing to change kids' lives, right? If you have a college degree, you can go do something. And I used to tell them, even if all you do is become a school teacher like me, you can buy and flip houses and do side hustle stuff and have all the money you need to take care of your family. But if you can get a degree and college football can keep you out of trouble, that's what's gonna help you get out of the neighborhood that you're in. So I could stand here and tell you about all the success stories. We'd run out of film, 3 in the NBA, 1 in the NFL, hundreds have gone off to play college. But those aren't the kids that keep me awake at night, right? The ones that keep me awake at night are the ones that have died or the ones that are in prison. I have 5 that I communicate with still that are in prison for murder. All of them committed murder before they were 18. One of them committed it when they were 20. And I knew these kids well. And it was the choices that they made that I look back and I go, man, could I have helped them make a different choice? The ones that are dead, knock on wood, every one of them, I feel my faith has shown me that they're in heaven. So there's not a doubt in the world, whether it's Dexter talking in a camp and film, talking about, hey, get your grades right, do all of these things, but put God first. And then he says, without God, there has nothing. And I get chill bumps thinking about it, because I know that Dexter's like he's there.
That's the most important thing. And keep God first and just work, continue to work, because without God, you can't do nothing.
Dexter's story could save other kids' lives because they're gonna look at it. And Victor, who's in prison for murder, he lost his twin when he was born, And these kids use these substances to self-medicate, and it's like, look, I know you have issues, but I want you to lean on your faith, right? And if they see my faith, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, talk is cheap, you know what I mean? And you know, if they're incarcerated, the first thing I want to know is like, okay, there's a plan, right? Like this isn't, they're not just in there, and every single one of them tell me, like they want to talk to kids and say, look, I made mistakes. And it's like, how do we take negative circumstances that happen in the world, just like you guys do, right? Hear my story. Like, how do we take these stories and save other people's lives? Because that's all they are, right? They're just parables and helping people realize you got choices, right? My dad was an alcoholic and I made these choices. Could I have been an alcoholic and turned to that? Yes, but if I realize that alcohol or marijuana or whatever it is going to lead to negative choices, and they're not even negative choices, they're just choices that have outcomes. And if you don't want those outcomes, and one of those being prison, one of those being addicted, you have to make wise decisions. I want to talk to the kid out there that was just like me. Abandoned, poor, adverse childhood experiences, those don't define you. I want you to realize that if you make the right choices, you can grow up and have the life of your dreams with a beautiful wife, beautiful family, kids that love you unconditionally, and you can provide for them the things that you never had, that you always want your own kids to have. And I think that's why I'm so proud of Rod, Leroy, Garrett, Naquan, and all the other kids that have grown up and been great fathers. And they're the fathers to their kids that I never had. And if there's one piece of advice I can give to you is make good choices. No matter how hard things are, keep making good choices. Make good decisions, and you can have unconditional love with a family that loves you and you love them back.